Hi, I'm Suneera Madani, and I'm a mom of two, a daughter of an immigrant, and an unlikely entrepreneur who went from scaling an idea to $1 billion business. Yes, $1 billion business. Along the way, I learned that less than 2% of female founders ever hit 1 million in revenue, and I became obsessed on a mission to change that. I believe that there is so much gatekeeping in business knowledge, and that we as female entrepreneurs should be learning from other female founders and leaders who have broken the statistics. Since I never went to CEO school, I've had to learn it all the hard way, but you shouldn't have to, because we believe that you deserve to have it all. And honestly, nothing bad happens when women make more money. Grab a seat because class is officially in session. Welcome to CEO School. Hello, listeners. It's Suneera Madani here, CEO School podcast host, and you are in for a treat. Over the next 7 weeks, we're going to be sharing exclusive interviews with the most unbelievable, unlikely CEOs who are truly just changing the game in their industries and are pioneers in what they do. Something that ties them all together, not only you're going to recognize their names, they're fabulous, they're leaders, they are massive influencers. But what is most important about them is that they are authentic CEOs. So come join me over the next 7 weeks in a beautiful series of interviews that you get to have first dibs on. So listen in from wherever you are listening in from, and you can catch these videos on YouTube and on our channels. I cannot wait for you to listen in and just learn from these guests that I learn from each and every single day. I hope you enjoy these interviews as much as I did. All right, ladies, how beautiful of a day it has been. And so we've talked a lot about spirituality. We've talked a lot about mental health. We've got to learn from just fabulous speakers. We talked about venture capital. We've talked about just, speaking and being at your highest self. And now we're going to get into a little bit more of the business self. I'm going to bring to you an expert in branding, an expert in knowing your worth and pricing, and someone that I feel is so unapologetic for who she is. And she just empowers women everywhere to not only lead their highest purpose, but show up and ask for their worth. This is something that I've struggled with. I think when I first started my company, our first plan price was like $29 for our subscription. And pricing is something that, we as women, we're always discounting ourselves. And Maya Elious is one that is not about the discount. She's going to show each and every single one of us how we can lean into the value that we provide and being our best and highest self and getting our purpose out and also charging what we are worth. And Maya is just an incredible branding expert, and she's a strategist that teaches experts how to create curriculum also and content to actually grow and monetize their online brand. So she's a digital entrepreneur. She teaches women how to be digital entrepreneurs, and she has literally helped hundreds of clients launch digital platforms and contents like blogs, challenges, master classes, webinars, courses, so that they can establish themselves as an authority in the online world and also use all of these expertise that they have to grow and cultivate a community. And so I'm so excited to welcome Maya to the stage.
Hey.
Hello, Maya.
Thanks for having me. How are you?
Girl, I am just doing amazing. This has just been such an incredible conversation. I cannot believe I have so much energy. I'm at my fourth cup of coffee right now. And so that's definitely helping. But the energy from all of these entrepreneurs is, it's amazing. It's incredible. And I'm so excited for them to learn from you, Maya. You're just such an inspiration and just a force. And so Maya, tell us a little bit about who you are, how you got started, and what you do.
Yeah, of course. So my name is Maya, and let me know if you are hearing an echo. I'm not sure if you're hearing an echo on your end, but my name is
We're good. You sound and look sensational.
Thank you so much. My name is Maya Elious. I'm a personal branding strategist and the CEO of Built to Impact, which is a company where we have coaching programs and live events for primarily women of faith, where we teach them how to monetize their message, package their expertise, and build a six-figure business with their personal brand. I love what I do so much. My gifting and specialty is in messaging, teaching people how to communicate who they are, who they serve, and how they add value to their industry. That is my jam. I actually started out in the branding space in 2008, creating MySpace pages, and then eventually transitioning into doing web and graphic design. So I've learned a lot about branding, especially the visual communication. But what I've recognized is that a lot of people, even when they do focus on the beautiful presence, is that, they struggle with verbally communicating what it is that they do, and they struggle with communicating why they are valuable. And if you struggle to communicate that, it's because you likely struggle to believe that. And so, the reason my clients, hire me and my coaches and come to our events and programs is because they simply want to learn, how can I communicate the value that I bring to the table so my revenue can start matching my experience.
I love that. And messaging is such a huge part of it. I call myself a brand snob, and I really do feel that way. But a lot of the brand snobbiness, it's not about the logo or the design. It's really about the message. I think the message is probably the most powerful thing that you can have as a company. And as CEO, you are the voice of your company. You are the brand of your company. And so you have to be able to connect with your ideal customer. You have to be able to connect with the end user of your product. And I find so often that people skip this whole part. And then they look back later and they're like, why am I not successful? People aren't coming in, people aren't buying, and I built this amazing widget, product, company, service, and no one's showing up. And I'm like, wait, let's go back, right? Let's go back to the messaging. And part of right now, I've been building out our coursework that's going to launch in May. And we're doing an entire thing on your ICP, which is your ideal client profile. Some people call it your ICA, your avatar. And one of the things I talk to my team about, they're like, well, so many people talk about the ICA. I'm like, no, we're going to make them go back, because at every stage of even your entrepreneurship journey, you have to go back and revisit your customers, your profile, your messaging. So critical, so important. And here we have Maya, who is an exact coach and an expert on messaging. Maya, do you find this same struggle that I do in talking to entrepreneurs?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, absolutely. I find the same struggle. And I agree 1,000,000%. At every single stage, you have to go back and look at, your ICA, your ideal client profile, however you guys want to call it, essentially just defining, who am I serving? And it's important to do this at every single level. And I think it's also important to understand that there's a lot of things in your business that you're going to do over and over. And it doesn't mean that you're not doing the right things the first time around. It's just a sign that you're evolving, and you want to make sure that you're still speaking the correct language for the people that you want to attract. Last year, as our company, scaled, we wanted to make sure we had the right people in the right programs. And so what we did was we created client archetypes, for our company, for our programs. And so we would look at these client archetypes and we would match them against the applications that we would get for people that wanted to sign up for our programs. And that's something that you guys can do, working inside of Suneera's program. When you fill out your ICP, you also want to make sure, does this line up with the clients that I'm saying yes to, that I want to work with? Because once you can nail who you want to work with, it also makes, providing your service so much more enjoyable. It makes marketing so much more enjoyable.
I'm so excited that we're having this conversation, because I do agree with you 100%. Messaging is so important, and it is a trait that every CEO must have. How do you help, something as a woman sometimes, like, I'm my hardest inner critic, right? Sometimes it's not even my message or what it is, it's my own thought process. I'm in my head so much all the time. And so what advice do you have for the women in the room that know who they want to serve? They know they have the expertise and the value, but just can't find the confidence, because that's definitely a huge gap that I see for female entrepreneurs in getting to that next stage, is they have to embody the confidence. It's not always there, but we have to continue to work on that to deliver the message as well. So what tips do you have around just building that level of confidence?
Yeah, I definitely believe that confidence comes from doing the work and acknowledging the results. Doing the work, acknowledging the results. So first, it's like, what work have you done? If you're saying you can help people, um, dress better, if you're saying you can help people do better with their makeup, if you're saying you can help people with their social media, what work have you done to indicate that you can help people with that? Have you done this for your own self? Have you done this for friends and family? So first practicing. I've been doing what I've been doing so long that it's nearly impossible for me to feel confident because I just have the receipts of like, I've been doing this nearly almost every single day for the past 14 years now that I just get it. So it's like, what have you been doing almost every single day for the past 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? One thing that we have to be mindful of is when we leave school, when we leave high school, or we leave college, we're not we're not practicing every day. We're not showing up and reading and doing all the things that we're forced to do in an 8-hour day when we were in school. And so when you're working on your business, you have to intentionally say, what studies am I going to do? What books am I going to read to make sure that I am top of my game at whatever it is that I'm doing? So one, having the knowledge and doing the work, then being aware of the results. And so one thing that I have my clients do is I ask them, like, well, what were some of your biggest achievements? What are the things that you're most proud of? What have you been able to do for yourself? What have you been able to do for other people? And oftentimes, we discount our skills and our experiences. And I don't mean literally discount as in we undercharge ourselves. I mean, we discount the amount of work that has gone into get us to where we are today. And until we actually sit down and say, I actually was able to help 3 people do this, and I helped my mom do this, and I helped 7 people do this, until we actually sometimes write it down and become aware, we forget the level of impact that we've had. So when you can actually document your level of impact and become aware of your results, that can help with your confidence as well.
Okay, I'm blown away. You got to get the knowledge, you got to do the work, then you got to take the receipts, right? You've got to count those results.
Mhm,
It's so
mhm.
important. We forget the receipts. There's so many amazing things that we do. We forget to take credit for those things, and then they just go away, and then we don't remember what we did. And that's the process. And I love that you talked about knowledge and putting in the work, right? It's like class, right? Showing up to class, knowing what books you need to read. That is also entrepreneurship. It is hard work, ladies and gentlemen. It is not this like perfectly easy breezy journey. And we see Maya now on the most fabulous yachts in her beautiful bathing suits with all of her friends popping champagne. This woman works really, really, really damn hard, and she's still working hard. And that's also part of it, right? That's also not part of it. That's the whole lot of it, to take
Yeah.
that, like that next 5%, right? This 95% of it is what you don't see at the surface. It's like the corporate iceberg, like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
iceberg painting, or it's like you just see the tip of the iceberg, and then the iceberg is actually all the way down in the ocean. The mass part of the iceberg is actually underneath what you don't see. And
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
to me is like the entrepreneur journey, right? People just see that, the peak of the iceberg, but all of it lives underneath the water. And that is what we want to peel back the onion. That is what we are talking about here today, that it is hard. And the internet does fool us, right, Maya? That entrepreneurship looks a certain way. And I want to ask you, you went from taking your passions, like you started doing MySpace pages 14 years ago, to now having a multi-million-dollar empire, helping other women to have 6-figure, 7-figure businesses. How beautiful is that? But what is the hardest part of, like, you went from founder to CEO? Right? And you are still running your business. You're not checked out. You're the one that shows up. You're the one that does your events. You're still the one doing the coaching. What is the hardest part about being CEO?
Oh my gosh. I'm like, well, what's not the hardest part?
Give it to me all. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about all the hard stuff on being
Yes,
a
yes.
CEO. Let's
Let's
do it.
let's talk about it. So one of the things that I teach my clients is this I guess, philosophy, for lack of better words, called the expert roadmap. And I talk about the different journeys, in your business. You have your discover phase where you're getting clear on your message. You're just beta testing. You're not really quite sure what your it thing is. And that's like the fun part of business where you might not even be that reliant on your idea to work because you might be at your 9 to 5, and that's the fun stage. Then you have your launch stage where after you kind of test things out, you launch your product, you already have like your list built, you're getting engagement, and that's a really fun stage too because you're actually starting to make money in your business. Then you have the grow stage where I feel like I was in the grow stage probably from like 2016 to 2019, where it's like, oh my gosh, I'm actually making money. I can afford maybe two team members now. I can have an assistant and a bookkeeper or whatever those team members are. You're starting to go from one-on-one to one-to-many if you're in service-based. And the grow phase is really where you have to ask yourself, do I want to go to the next phase, which is scale? Do I want to be a really well paid solopreneur, or do I want to be a CEO? And when I teach this, I talk about like the different mindset blocks that you run into at every single level. And when it comes to scaling, one of the most challenging things is growing your business rapidly and still making sure that you're showing up and producing with the same level of quality and integrity, right? And so an example is kind of like, let's say there's a local lemonade stand that you like, and it's this one lemonade stand in your city. Everybody loves it. It's the go-to. Their flavor is so unique. And then a bigger company buys them, and now they're at scale and they're in 100 stores across the entire state. And so some people might be like, oh man, I remember when they were small and they had such unique flavors, but now at scale, you dilute the integrity or the quality of your product. And so one of the most challenging things is just being able to find that balance of, how do I scale and serve more people without diluting the quality and integrity of my product? That's one of the most challenging things that I have found with scale. Even when you have the best intentions, things are going to break because your systems not might be set up for that growth if you've never experienced that level of growth, or if you haven't had any level of coaching or mentorship to adequately prepare you for that. So I would say that's probably the number one thing, or one of the top two things. I would say the other thing is just showing up as a leader now for your team. Whereas when I was in the discover phase, the launch phase, and the grow phase, I needed to show up for my clients in a certain way. But when I needed to hire more people to make sure I could adequately serve my clients, now not only am I a leader to serve my clients, I'm now a leader for the people that are underneath me within my company. And so having that level of pressure of like making sure I'm showing up the right way for my clients and making sure I'm showing up the right way for my team.
Absolutely agree with you, right? It is hard, and scale is what's really hard, right? You can get started. I think, I was having a conversation with a friend, and I was saying that I used to think that the hardest part was getting started, which it is, right? Like that's hard enough in and of itself. So you get started. Starting a business is so hard. It's fearful. You're taking risk. You have no clue, right? And you're just taking this leap of faith and you're learning along the way. That is hard. Then it becomes harder once you do it and you're like, okay, great, I got this. I'm kind of have the hang of it. And then the skill part comes, right? Going from solopreneur to CEO, right? That part requires systems and scaling and people, right? And that is the journey from going from founder to CEO. That's the scale part. And that part was missing. Like there's a lot of people teaching us like how to start the business, but what happens when you actually have the business? Like what actually happens when you have a business and you have some sales, right? Do you want to have just some sales? Do you want to scale the business? And what gets you from 0 to 5 figures is not what is going to get you from 5 to 6. And it's definitely not what's going to get you from 6 to 7 and 7 to 8. It's designed on purpose, right? That's the way it is, because you've got to, the systems that we're working at that level shouldn't work at the next stage. So you've got to redo those systems. You've got to rethink your mindset. You've got to rethink that messaging, the brand, the scaling, the tools, the resources, the tech, the people, the overwhelm. Like that is all part of the scale. And that is a playbook, right? That player is a playbook. So for sure, number one, it's so hard to scale. Number two, you talked about leadership. Oh, my heart just wanted to explode when you talked about leadership. Being a CEO is hard because you are a leader. What you say really matters. How you act, how you show up really matters. People are giving up their dreams to come fulfill yours. I'm going to just say that again. There are people giving up their dreams to come fulfill yours. And you have to take that with, I think that's like the biggest gift anyone can ever give me, is to say that they want to join my team. Like that is the greatest gift, because they're giving me their time, their energy, and their mind that they could be using elsewhere to go do something selfish for themselves. Mm-hmm. But they want to be part of this sphere. They want to be part of my team because they believe in me. And they believe in my vision, and they believe in the mission. And so leadership is one of the hardest things. And I used to be told, I used to think like great leaders are, they're not born, right? Great leaders are not born, they are made. Leadership is also a journey that can be learned, and it's through experience, and it's through having team, it's through making mistakes, it's through putting in the work and reading the books and showing up for the podcast and coming to the courses and summits and all of the things. You learn leadership, but at the end of the day, that the people side of business is hard because you have to have the brave face on, right? You've got to show up when everyone else, if things are good, if things are bad, if things are hard, your whole team looks to you to have the answer. Your team's going to look to you to say, how's my coach feeling? Because that's how the players are going to perform, right? And so leadership is one of the hardest things, but it can be learned. And it's also beautiful, right? It's also so fulfilling, isn't it, Maya?
It really is. It really is. Just listening to you, that even spoke to me. Like, the players are always gonna look to the coach. And I think there's a level of pressure there where, there's definitely a higher level of responsibility in terms of like what you say it, how you show up online, how you act. That's definitely something I'm learning every single day. I mean, I've only been a CEO for really like the past 18 months to 2 years, really, if we're being honest, in terms of scaling and having, so many more people. So it's definitely a beautiful journey because you get to build relationships and really get to see like, dang, people really are showing up for me. They really do believe in my vision. Kind of like you said, like people are kind of, for lack of better words, neglecting their vision to kind of help push yours forward. And even with that, it forces you to also have a level of responsibility of what is the vision for the company, because I don't want people neglecting their dreams and companies to work for me. I want people to be so clear on their dream and their vision and say, my vision is aligned with the vision of this company, because that's going to build that longevity and that loyalty. And what I've realized is that, as the CEO and the leader, it's like I don't necessarily want their loyalty to be to me, Maya, the person, because I'm an imperfect person. They're bought into the vision that I have. They're bought into the vision of the company. And so if their vision can align with my vision, then it makes things way more cohesive.
That spoke to me, Maya, and I agree with you. It really is about aligning the vision. And Yasmin, who was here earlier, she talked about her experiences even in corporate, and every single one of those experiences made her a better CEO later. And so I do think that visions can align, but I do think that people are literally one of the most important parts of a company, and they should be treated with the utmost dignity. And sometimes I find that, the CEOs that are always like constantly, we talked about firing, right? We talked about that's important. You have to be able to let go of people. You have to know when to hire, but also it's like looking intrinsically at your leadership. Like, what did you do to make that person successful, right? Like, did you put in the work to make it successful? I find so often that entrepreneurs tell me, well, I'm trying to delegate. I'm such a perfectionist, but I'm trying to delegate. They just don't get it. And I'm like, no. It's not that they don't get it. What are you doing? Are you actually helping them become successful? People training, resources, sitting down and having the time. No one's just going to get it immediately. You didn't get it immediately either, right? Somebody had to teach you and you had to learn. So we have to allow that grace to learn and grow as well. And this is a huge part. It's an entire module on like the 6-part framework of the course that's going to be dropping is on people, how to hire, how to effectively train, and how to make sure that they also feel an impact in your culture. So yes, absolutely. Well, Maya, I know we can sit here and chat all day, and I want to, and I can't wait to see you in person. I want to ask you, as a CEO, you've literally had just a beautiful journey. What is your proudest moment as CEO?
Oh my gosh. It's funny because I heard you ask this question to the other speakers, and literally the first thing that came to mind was like not quitting, not giving up. You know what I mean? It's like I want to be able to say like there's this milestone moment where, oh, when I did this event or when I made this money, it's like honestly not giving up, because this does get hard. And honestly, I think I'm most proud that I haven't given up even at this level. And what I mean by that is when you're first starting out in business, sometimes you feel a little bit more of a pressure, especially if you end up quitting your full-time job. You're like, I have to make this work because, my kids are depending on it, or I need to be able to pay my bills. I need to know where my next meal is coming from. Like by the grace of God, I've done really well in my business that if I'm like, oh, I just want to stop for a while now, I'll be good financially. And the fact that I keep showing up when it's hard, even though I don't need the money, is an indication that this really matters to me, that the people that I serve is, really matters to me. And there's been a lot of tough times where I'm like, I could throw all of this away and be good. But I'm like, it's not about that. It's not about the money. It's about what's the promise you made to yourself? What's the promise you made to God? What is the calling over your life? So the fact that I decide to show up when it's easy, I decide to show up when it's hard, I decide to show up when the algorithm is annoying, I decide to show up when people criticize me, I still show up. And that is what I'm most proud of.
Oh, I want to just like hug you through the screen. I feel your words so hard. That is something to be really proud of. I think we're all proud of that every day. I texted my best friend on Monday. I was on a coaching call for the boardroom, and I showed it to them because like a lot of the women were talking about, it gets hard. I want to give up. And I was like, wait, let me show you that even at this level, I consider giving up. And I shared a screenshot of my text messages, and I texted her and I said, I hate being a CEO. This is fucking hard. I want to quit. Wah, wah, wah. Okay, love you. Bye. And it is hard. It's so difficult. And showing up is something that you need to be proud of because you don't have to be here. You really don't have to be here. And the people that are here when they are successful and that are giving back because their mission and their alignment is just at a higher purpose. It's your why. It's what gets you out of bed on the easy days and on the hard days. And that's what makes you so unique and beautiful and so successful inside and out. Maya Elious, thank you so much for your time today. We cannot wait to support you and also be wearing Rebellious Fit. Maya also has multiple companies. So she's a multi-passionate entrepreneur like yours truly. Maya, tell us a little bit about Rebellious Fit and your coaching programs and how we can continue to just support you.
Yeah, so Rebellious Fit is my fitness apparel line that I started in the pandemic, and everybody was like, oh my gosh, I'm gaining weight. I'm not doing anything. I too was gaining weight and I'm like, I need to work out consistently and I want to look cute doing it. So Rebellious Fit, a play on my last name of Elious, Rebelious. If you guys want to follow that page and purchase some of the really cute sets, you can do so at rebelliousfit.com. And if you're interested in any of my live events or coaching programs, you can follow me and visit the Built to Impact website at Built to Impact and built2impact.com.
Amazing. Thank you, Maya, for your energy today. Ladies, this session all day today is, I can't even believe I'm still going, by the way. So I'm so happy with how all of this is happening. I want to say thank you to like our entire production team here that is just keeping all of this happening. I love our new studio. I love the high quality of level of content that we're bringing here for you guys without any single asks. Like I think that is, it's really hard to do. And it is also something that I want to bring you the best. I really, really want to bring you the best. We're really here to make an impact. Up next, we have Jenna Kutcher. So she is our final speaker of today. But before I transition into Jenna, I want to talk about the 4-day CEO school experience. So we have an experience coming up on May 16th. If you've enjoyed today, I promise I won't take up an entire afternoon of yours again for a while, but I will take up 1 hour. Just join me for 1 hour every single day. It's going to be at noon, I believe, but it's May 16th through the 20th. And every single day, there's going to be a topic. And it's really going to be about going from founder to CEO. It's going to be about scaling. It's going to be about that journey to the 2% club. I learned the statistic that less than 2% of female founders ever break $1 million in revenue, and I was heartbroken. I was like truly devastated. I couldn't figure out why. I became maniacally obsessed with this statistic and realized that this, obviously it shouldn't be the case, but I really put time into why this is happening. And what I found is that, there just aren't resources for women. There's all of these resources that live in a million different places that really just wouldn't connect. Like I wouldn't take these trainings. I wouldn't take these courses. I wouldn't participate in summits that I can't even attend or go to, or just are too professional or are taught by speakers who are not entrepreneurs. Like they're not entrepreneurs anymore. And I couldn't find a space that women like me that are scaling, that have a business, that want to learn and that want to grow their companies, that want to learn how to be great leaders, that want to have the playbook? Where can we go to get the resources? And when I looked back at my journey, I really found like my biggest struggle was that I had to learn from my own experiences. And I had some amazing mentors that ended up coming into my life, a few that are just so instrumental. And I learned from their experiences, but none of them were women. I had 0 women mentors getting me here to this point. And I felt really, really alone. I never felt I had a seat at the table ever. And so I was always trying to find a seat at the table until I realized that there just wasn't a table for me to sit at. I needed to build my own table. And so that is what CEO School is really about. We're putting together an amazing program for all of you to really step into your CEO. If you have a business and you want to scale, if you want to learn the exact playbooks, come to the experience. Again, this is a full free experience. We literally just want to give you the value so that you can walking away with exact recipes, exact playbooks, things that you can implement today on your journey to CEO, because there's nothing more in my world that I want than to make a bigger impact than just myself and my team. I want to make sure that the success that we've had, the hardships that we've gone through, 10 years of entrepreneurship, 500 million in venture capital raise, 300 team members in going, multiple offices, scaling, going international, M&A, all this crazy stuff that I never thought I was going to be able to do. I had to step into a role every day that was harder than the one that I had yesterday. And it was always hard. I was always hard on myself. I was so hard on myself because I was like, I don't have it. I don't know what it takes. I had so much imposter syndrome until I realized, I look back and, like Maya said, to collect receipts, right? I wasn't collecting my receipts. I had forgotten all of the amazing things that I had done so far and what got me through on those hard days or scaling to that next level, even going from 0 to 10 employees, 10 to 20 employees, going from 0 to 1 million, 1 to 10 million, right? Those were all receipts that I had, but I was discounting those. And I was discounting them because I wasn't my full authentic self, right? And when I showed up as my full authentic self, my business just exploded exponentially. And that is why I'm here. I didn't go to CEO school, and you don't have to. And that is what I realized. And so this is CEO School, and we're going to learn from real amazing entrepreneurs. Thank you for tuning into today's show. If you loved it, leave us a review. We are so proud to bring you authentic conversations, game changer expert guests, and valuable content on and offline. The best compliment you can give us is by screenshotting today's show and tagging us on Instagram at CEO School and at Suneera Madani. We are obsessed with swag, so don't be surprised if we want to send you some. Thanks for tuning into class today, and remember, nothing bad happens when women make more money.